And NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is making some comments live right now at the closing of this two-day NATO summit in Lithuania. Let's listen in.
He affirmed that Ukraine will become a member of NATO and agreed to remove the requirement for a membership action plan. This will change Ukraine's membership path from a two-step process to a one-step process. We will issue an invitation for Ukraine to join NATO when allies agree that conditions are met. This sends a clear, strong and united message from our Vilnius summit. We must ensure that when this war ends, there are credible arrangements in place for Ukraine's security, so that history does not repeat itself. I welcome that many allies have now committed to providing long-term security assistance to Ukraine. This will help deter any future aggression from Russia after the war ends. This morning, we met with the leaders of Australia, Japan, New Zealand and South Korea, as well as the European Union. NATO is a regional alliance, but we face global challenges. What happens in Europe matters to the Indo-Pacific. And what happens in the Indo-Pacific matters to North America and Europe. Beijing's global assertiveness and Moscow's war against Ukraine require even closer coordination between NATO, the EU, and our Indo-Pacific partners. We condemn North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, including its latest missile launch. This violates multiple UN Security Council resolutions and pose a threat to regional and global security. NATO is reinforcing our ties with Australia, Japan, New Zealand and South Korea with tailored partnership programs, including joint work on issues like maritime security, new technologies, cyber, climate change and resilience. We will work even more closely together, standing strong for the rules-based international order. We face the most serious security situation in decades, but allies are rising to the challenge. NATO is more united than ever, standing strong in defense of our people and our values. I would like to close by thanking President Nausėda, the Lithuanian government and the people of Vilnius for hosting this historic summit. I look forward to the Washington summit next year, marking the 75th anniversary of our alliance. And with that, I'm ready to take some questions.
Politico.
Oh.
Politico.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ali Bayer from Politico. Secretary General, after reading the communique, some Ukrainians have raised concerns that perhaps some Western capitals may be preparing for a situation where Ukraine's NATO membership would be a chip in a negotiation with Russia. What is your response to Ukrainians who have that concern at the moment? Thank you.
We had a very good meeting with President Zelensky and his delegation today, where he welcomed the very strong message from NATO allies. He welcomed the establishment of the NATO-Ukraine Council and also the clear commitment to move Ukraine closer to membership. So this was not an issue raised in any of those meetings. And I think it is extremely important to recognize that the decisions we have made, all NATO allies, is the strongest ever message on Ukraine and membership that this alliance ever made. By stating clearly that Ukraine will become a member, that Ukraine's future is in NATO, and also then describing the path forward with the practical support for ensuring interoperability, with strengthening the political ties with the NATO-Ukraine Council, and then by removing the requirement for a membership action plan. Then negotiations to solve the conflict in Ukraine will only happen when Ukraine is ready for negotiations. And as we have stated again and again, nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. What we do know is that the more military support we provide to Ukraine, the more land they are able to liberate, the stronger their hand will be at the negotiating table. And therefore, we continue, and the message from this summit and from NATO allies with new announcements of long-range cruise missiles, of more armored vehicles with more advanced air defense systems and training of F-16 pilots, is that we support them to liberate land so they will have a stronger hand at the negotiating table. That's what this is about. It's not about NATO negotiating on behalf of Ukraine.
Okay, we'll go to the gentleman in the front row here.
Hello, Ken Moriyasu from Nikkei Asia. Secretary General, there was talk about opening a NATO liaison office in Tokyo, but that was not mentioned in the communique whatsoever. Is this plan dead, or is there plans to revive it towards the end of the year? Is opening at a different location an option? And we know that France was very much openly opposed to this plan. Were there any other countries that were opposed to the idea as well? Thank you.
This morning I met with Prime Minister Kishida from Japan, and that was a very good meeting where we both recognized and stated clearly the importance of further strengthening the
Nausėda et les autorités lituaniennes pour leur accueil. Je mesure le chemin que la Lituanie a parcouru depuis qu'elle s'est débarrassée du joug soviétique pour rejoindre l'Alliance Atlantique et l'Union européenne. Et je sais combien ce sommet
stated that what happens in Europe matters for Asia, and what happens in Asia matters for Europe. And he also went to Ukraine and visited Kiev and demonstrated his clear commitment to provide support to Ukraine. We also agreed today a new individual partnership program between NATO and Ukraine, where we describe the different work strands where we're going to deepen our cooperation. This is about cyber, it's about maritime security, it's about countering hybrid threats, including disinformation, and in other areas where we see the potential for NATO.
We just want to interrupt there. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg making comments here at the closing of the two-day NATO summit because Emmanuel Macron is making some comments right now. Let's listen into what he has to say.
Their support to Ukraine, and they are working together for peace and stability to be re-established on our continent. In times of uncertainty, we had to send a clear signal to Russia that they cannot divide and wear out the European and Western allies. They cannot kidnap the Western world, which Milan Kundera so much believed in. A homage to him. Ukraine will join the alliance at some point. The door is now open. They do not have to go through the action plan, and they will join when the conditions are fulfilled. Unity, because we have a capacity to act when need be. We want to renew, we have renewed our commitments for the Balkans. The leaders have met. Also for Serbia-Herzegovina, I met up with the leaders. I also met President Erdogan, and I told him that I was happy about a calmer atmosphere in the relations in that part of the world. Thanks to the enlargement and opening to Finland and very soon Sweden, the alliance will be even stronger. Thank you, President Erdogan. We hope that the joining of Sweden will be very rapid, and this will certainly help to put an end to the actions of Russia and President Putin, and it gives us renewed sources of support and cooperation. Unity and determination, which is that of the allies wanting to guarantee their collective safety with Article 5 is as important as ever. It's an essential dimension of our nations who have been able to help Ukraine efficiently for more than a year. We have also reaffirmed our position stated in Madrid, which is robust and flexible. We have adopted our defense plans. We have moved towards a reform of the command architecture and validated new initiatives such as for the Baltic states and the air defense. France will contribute. This is fully in keeping with the summit we had a few days ago in Paris with the Ministers of Defense in Paris. And this defense will help to reinforce our eastern front with more than 1,000 men in Romania, 300 in Estonia, participating in the air police, a participation which will also resume in Lithuania. Allies are showing their determination to support Ukraine. We are there for them. NATO doesn't actually get involved in the armament of Ukraine, but what it does is guarantee interoperability. The allies are doing as much as they can to support Ukraine in a concrete way. This is what we are doing. With our support, Ukraine has managed to push out the Russian forces, to push them back in several places recently. The United States have played an essential role, and thank you to them for actually shouldering the biggest share of the burden with 14 billion euros that they have spent in supporting Ukraine. Every day we see that this crisis is the opportunity for the allies to demonstrate one way or another. Never had Europe spent so much and gone beyond the rules that would normally have limited their action. And now is the moment to support Ukraine when they are carrying out a counter-offensive. France has contributed Caesar's armored vehicle, ammunition, CRPT with Italy. We've been the first ones to decide to provide a Western tanks with the AMX JRC, and I have also decided to send some Scalp missiles that will give them an in-depth assault capability. They will be able to reach the key infrastructures of the Russians on Ukrainian territory. What we want to demonstrate is that time is actually now playing in favor of Ukraine. First, because Russia has shown its first signs of being divided, because of what happened with the well-known mercenaries who have been doing the worst, whether in Caucasus or Africa, and suddenly they have demonstrated their weakness. And because we have also been continually bringing our support, and we are also making it a durable sort of support, a sustainable support, militarily and politically. Our support to Ukraine is sustainable. We are making short-term effort, whether in summer or in winter, but if need be, it will be sustainable as long as it takes. And this is the meaning of the G7's commitment for Ukraine. The allies can also join this agreement, and some actually did this in the session of this afternoon. They have confirmed their will to be part of this commitment, which is a sustainable, longer-term commitment to support Ukraine. And beyond unity and determination, it's also joint views and a community of views which has marked our debates. You know that sometimes the alliance has had some trouble adapting to modern conditions, but Russia's aggression has actually led to everyone agreeing on launching new ambitious programs, increasing their budgets for defense and armament, and France has done that too. We have a new budget for military support, which we started back in 2017. In 2019, we increased the budget very much, and then the Parliament has just voted a new budget, which means that between 24 and 30, we have two military program budgets, which are going to help us to seriously increase our efforts. We also are committed in Estonia and Romania. That's another proof. I'm happy that our allies are supporting the principle that we are all shouldering more responsibility for the safety of our own continent in a consistent fashion inside the alliance. And you know, when France actually was pushing for more strategic autonomy of Europe, and we defended the idea of the complementarity of such an approach compared to NATO, but now actually we've gone further. We're beyond the need to demonstrate that we are complementary because we're all united, and everyone has understood how important it is to be part of the effort for our own defense. And after the agreement of Versailles in March 22, this has clearly been demonstrated. Of course, we have to face multiform attacks, not only military. There's also cyber risks and artificial intelligence. And in that context, the allies need to count on reliable allies who share views for peace and security. And it is welcome that the European Union and Australia, Japan, New Zealand and Korea to be invited to this summit. I actually had some discussion with most of the leaders concerned. And as I said at the Council, we must watch out for the most vulnerable and in case of threats and the results of the health and the safety crisis that we have been through, that their particular interests should be taken care of more specifically. So we have taken very clear decision to support Ukraine, and we have also had several opportunities in our debates, particularly today, to have to stand beside the leaders in all continents and show that we are there to defend the United Nations Charter and international stability, and that we're not trying to set up a double standard. On the contrary, we are determined to solve a large international crisis, and that is why France, not very long ago, held the summit for the new international financial pact. And with those countries, we are setting up new financial rules so that not only climate matters, but also poverty matters can be overcome. And we don't want to be bogged down in neighboring conflicts. We want to have an overarching program which covers the continents and the countries. And I'll give you a chance for questions. AFC, please, first question. Mr. President, the Ukrainians are a bit disappointed that there's not a very concrete commitment regarding their joining the alliance. And you in Bratislava went a bit further. Aren't you a bit disappointed? Did you think that before there were clear perspectives for Ukraine actually becoming member? And today have they really been told clearly when they are going to join? Well, first I would like to say it's fair for the Ukrainian president to be demanding, because he is in the middle of a fight, of a war, and he's defending the sovereignty of his territory with his people. Secondly, we have to be at his side with our international values and defending Europe. And that is what we're doing. We are defending Ukraine. We are sanctioning Russia. We would like to avoid an escalation and a broadening of the conflict. We have tightened the ties between all the allies. That's what we've just done. We have a short-term commitment such as SCALP for France, but many countries have some very short-term commitments which they've announced, and that is going to increase the efficiency. Then there's a long-term commitment to deliver armament and support. So even if it goes to a long-term attrition war, we'll be there, and that is the meaning of what the G7 and the alliance have affirmed. We have also affirmed the message that there is a path in NATO, and that the security of our continent can only go hand in hand with opening the path for Ukraine to join. And that is what we have done. We've done it, and we are trying to maintain the whole unity. Mr. President, a question in two parts. First, the declaration published yesterday is a little harsh about Iran and talking about the destabilization actions, the arms delivered to Russia, and boats being arrested out at sea. Does it mean that Iran is becoming an adversary of NATO? And second question, do you think Israel should contribute more militarily and as regards help in general for Ukraine? For your first topic, we've got an efficiency objective. The point of the alliance isn't to find new enemies every week, but it's actually to put pressure to bear where it is needed, because of there's a risk on the safety of allies. And nuclear proliferation is one of the destabilizing factors, and we want some tangible results with our Iranian partners. And we're doing that in conjunction with our American partners. As regards Israel, yes, we would hope for them to engage more for Ukraine. There are some other countries who are part of the United Nations Chart and who believe in democratic values, but haven't delivered very much equipment. So we hope that in the coming months, these countries, which are doing a bit less, could change their attitude and help more. BFM TV. Hello, Mr. President. A question for France, because we are worried about the nights of the 13th to 16th of July, that there might be unrest, as there has been recently. So what are you going to do about the situation in France and the unrest? This new alert around the 14th of July, does it mean you're not going to give your speech that you usually give? First, I can't say that I'm going to push something that I hadn't planned. So you might allow me for a bit of freedom in management of my agenda. So I wasn't going to give a speech. So I'm not going to be able to report it to any future date. So now, if I'm reasonably informed, I don't think we've had riots in the last few days. I think thanks to our inland security forces, we've managed to come back to a more peaceful situation. And of course, we need peace, and it's part of the Republican order, which I had reaffirmed 100 days ago, and it is now respected everywhere again. So if ever it comes to new unrest, we'll be quite firm in maintaining order so that our citizens can live in peace and order here. And thank you, by the way, to all the representatives of justice and peace, including our fire brigade. Thank you for having worked hard for returning to order. And the nature of these urban riots has actually changed a lot. It's quite different compared to what happened years back. I've talked to hundreds of mayors concerned. Is it a question of France underinvesting in the city policies? No, we've been investing more. The urban policy budgets have increased massively. We're building cultural and sports equipment. Urban renovation has gone from 5 to 12 billion. We're doing more than ever before. So is it because of the justice system? No, we've created 10,000 new jobs in the justice system. So things are a bit more complicated than they seem, but we certainly need unity and determination there too. And with those principles, we're going to do our best to apply good methods, a good rhythm of activities in the weeks to come. Hello, the Japanese Prime Minister, who was part of the meeting with the Indo-Pacific leaders, was there. And did you talk about Japan, and has your position changed, NATO and Japan? Well, thank you to the Prime Minister for G7 and the big advances he made. And it was important for Japan to be there with other partners of the region. First, it's another sign to show that, and something Japan has really helped in this conflict, helped establish. It's not a war just between Russia and Europe and the States. Japan as well has demonstrated that all countries in every region believe in the Charter of United Nations, and they share our values. They have expressed themselves very definitely against the war, and Japan has been part of this. The presence of the Prime Minister of Japan is important for France. We have about 1.5 million people who live in the region of Japan and that part of the world. We have exercises with our partners. We've defined strategies since 2018, which we then Europeanized, so to say. And myself, I was able to affirm quite clearly that NATO should have partners where in matters of world security, Indo-Pacific, Middle East. Maybe I'm a bit simple, but however, I do remember that the title is of North Atlantic. So there's North Pacific is not North Atlantic. We cannot deviate completely from our original purposes, but geographically we are staying with our close partnership, which is part of our title, and we are not. We can't extend the field. All over the world. We're not. It's not the right moment. Thank you.